Hello, welcome to easyodds.com. My name is Ross Casey. I'm here with the horse racing extraordinaire, that is Jake Johns. We're here to talk about Glorious Goodwood, the festival that runs between the 1st and the 5th of August. It's coming up just around the corner, and our man Jake is going to run through plenty of the races at the festival itself. But before we start on that, let's quickly talk about the offer from our friends Bookie.
Yeah.
This is a slightly long-winded one, so listen in as I read off the terms and conditions on this Glorious Goodwood risk-free everyday bet at Bookie. Customer must place £10 odds of evens or more on the first day's racing at Glorious Goodwood in order to benefit from the offer. The customer then places a further 3 bets on any horse at Goodwood that day. The first bet will be refunded as a free bet token up to £10 if it's a losing bet, and then the offer will continue to run on days 2 to 5 of the festivals. So you're actually picking up a risk-free bet there every single day of the festival. So that makes it even more enticing because you can have a dabble at a few horses throughout the 5 days. So that's the promotion there from Bookie, which will have terms and conditions fully underneath this video in a link. So that's the offer out of the way from our friends Bookie. Shall we tackle some horse racing, Jake?
Okay, so day one of the Glorious Goodwood meeting. I mean, these video tips have not been going great recently. I mean, Caravaggio, what the hell happened there in the July Cup? I think basically the 6 furlongs at Newmarket was a bit too quick for him, and he needs further. At the end of the day, he just didn't get going. He could have been a bit flat as well. Obviously, took quite a bit out in the Commonwealth Cup. So, but yeah, won't talk about the July Cup. We'll talk about Glorious Goodwood day one. I'm just going to go through the feature races on every day of Glorious Goodwood. So that's 5 feature races. I don't have a massive bet in the Stewards Cup yet because there's so many entries and there's a lot to go through there. So, but I've got a couple that I like in the Stewards Cup at pretty big prices. But we'll start off with the feature race on day one at the Goodwood Cup, won last year by Big Orange. He's actually won it for the last 2 years, and obviously won the Ascot Gold Cup this year as well. And he doesn't have Order of St George to contend with in the Goodwood Cup this year, as he's been taken out. So he's a very, very short price favourite at evens. He's got a really good record here. He's 2 from 3 at the track, but at evens, I'm probably willing to take him on. There's a couple in there that could improve, and there's a couple that are a little bit unexposed. First one that I like is Die Harald for William Haggis. He ran 6th in the Hardwick last time, behind the improving Idaho, who I think is going to be pretty good actually. I think Idaho is a little bit underrated. He could be a decent bet for the King George this weekend, but I'm going to get into that later, a different day, different video. Yeah, but he set a decent gallop that day, and to me, in that race and in races before, I feel like he's just been crying out for a step up and trip. In my Ascot Gold Cup article, I actually mentioned that I'd be really, really keen on this one for the Ascot Gold Cup if he was entered, because I think he would stay. He wasn't entered in the end, so I didn't tip him, and I knew they were going to swerve it. But he was entered into the Hardwick, and then once again, it just seemed like he needed further. And he's one of my favourite horses last season as a handicapped horse. He's just basically a group horse running in handicaps last season. Very, very obvious. He needed the first run out in 2017, but then he absolutely destroyed them at York in a listed race. He gave away £3 to the field. Over shorter trips, they tend to, I feel like they need to force the pace. But over a little bit further, like he was at York that day, he came off the pace. That was 14 furlongs. He glided to the front in second gear and beat Nikita by 3.5 lengths. He's going to need to improve for that, but I think the step up and trip is actually going to kind of improve him quite a bit. The stamina in his pedigree and just the visual impression he left from that Hardwick run made me think that this step up and trip is going to suit him perfectly. He has never run over this trip, so he's obviously unexposed. He's 10 to 1 at the moment. I think he's a really good each way bet, that's for sure. As I said, I think he's definitely going to improve for the step up and trip, and it's just an interesting one that's thrown in there with a few very, very exposed horses over this trip, the old boys. I don't know why they don't put any more 3-year-olds in this. He's not a 3-year-old, but 3-year-olds would get off to a massive weight allowance. And I don't know, they could use it as a trial for the St Ledger or something maybe. So that's a bit strange, but obviously Big Orange is he's very likely. He's a likely winner, but I mean evens is definitely sure enough. 10 to 1 each way. I prefer Die Harald. The other one I like is Sheikh Zayed Road. I tipped him at 16 to 1. He's currently at best price of 14 to 1, I think. He ran a regional race in the Ascot Gold Cup, coming from the back of a pretty slow pace, Wasn't the best pace in the world, that's for sure. That's probably one of the things that did Order of St George had to make a lot of ground in a short amount of time. And he met a bit of interference. Once again, he hung badly right under pressure. He did the same thing in the Ascot Gold Cup last year in the closing stages. But with a truer pace, I think he could go much, much better. He only came into himself right at the end of last season. And like this season, I mean, in the Ascot Gold Cup, he hung right under pressure in the straight once again. So hopefully he can learn from that effort. He's only had 2 runs this season. One of them was at Meydan behind Vizierabad, one of the best stayers going in the game. It was only like I said, it was only towards the end of the last season that he came into himself, and he's only had 2 runs. So I think he could easily come on quite a bit for that run. He ran really well in this last year, went 3rd, and he only went down by a length. And he improved again for the Gold Cup run. So the fact that he's 16 to 1 or whatever, 14 to 1 best price, and Big Orange's evens, definitely worth an each way bet as well. Rock solid, almost rock solid. He's got a few quirks still, like obviously he hangs under pressure quite a bit, but if he improves that at all, he's hopefully going to get in the top 3. So Dal Harald, a little bit of a kind of riskier one, but more likely to win at 10 to 1. Shinkside Road, solid at 16 to 1. So they're 2 very solid bets in the feature race on day 1 of Glorious Goodwood, the Goodwood Cup.
2 each way selections there, following on from your place pot win at Sandown.
Oh, place pot win! My 2nd place pot win ever. Not bad. 100 quid off of 2 quid. This is the most minimum amount you could possibly do in the place pot, but I still won. Get in, come on. I didn't even do favourites the whole time. Right, on to day 2, and the feature is, of course, the Sussex Stakes, won by some absolute superstars recently. Frankel, Solo, Camford Cliffs, Henry the Navigator, just to name a few. There's been duels on the Downs many, many times between the 3-year-olds. We're not allowed to call it duel on the Downs this time. There's no battle between the 3-year-olds. Barney Roy stepped up in trip. There's no way he's going to go down again. But there is 2 at the top of the market that stand out. But, yes, Mutkayev obviously took the Ascot race. He would have been an interesting one, but he's been ruled out for the season. I'm not sure he's good enough. Anyway, Thunder Snow comes here. If the ground is really, really fast, I think actually, some people say Thunder Snow wants soft ground, but I think he might want it a little bit, I think he wants it quite fast. He won a Group 1 in France last time, but he dictated the pace from the front. Terrible Group 1. Although, it's still a Group 1 at the end of the day, but it wasn't the best of Group 1s, and he got his own way in front. Zelzal's the only one I like at bigger prices, 12 to 1, Called by Sea the Stars. Only run once this season. He was 2nd to Torif, who went on to beat 2000 Guineas 3rd Al Wakir quite easily next time. So that's quite good form. He could easily come on for that. But the form in behind isn't great, and it's entirely possible that the winner that day just improved loads for his next run. So I still, even at 12 to 1, I don't think he's going to get in the top 2 or 3. Or he could easily get in the top 3, so maybe each way price. I don't know how many runs there's going to be. But let's move to the top of the market. I think these 2 are the 2 to concentrate on. Ribchester, 11 to 10 favourite when I wrote the tips. I think he's about that now, best price, possibly evens, maybe even a little bit short actually. But Richard Fahey recently said that he was the best horse he's ever trained. The 4-year-old has just improved so much. I tipped him for Royal Ascot, which he won quite well despite hanging out. He's still got his quirks, but he did win quite well. Ran into his pacemaker that day, which can't have helped. Maybe the fourth ground was slightly against him. A little bit of cut would be perfect.
Is he a trainer that you trust with these quotes? Because there's often trainers that have similar quotes for every horse that they have running.
100%. That's a good point. He is a trainer. You don't get him saying stuff like that very often. He doesn't. He has loads and loads of horses, wins loads of races, but doesn't tend to win these really good. He has had a couple group horses in the past, but he doesn't tend to win these really good. Doesn't have these like amazing horses like Ribchester, but he's an absolute beast.
Okay.
And he's improved loads since his 2000 Guineas place last season. He basically hasn't stopped improving since then. Although you could argue that his run at Newbury at the start of the season was probably better than his run at Royal Ascot. But he is a very, very valid favourite on what he's done so far this season. But when I wrote the tips, I went with, this is going to be a surprise to some people because I've been against them all season with Barney Roy, Churchill.
Surprise, mother...
He was 5 to 2. You can still get him at 15 to 8. Was just about good enough, I'd say. Just about. I wouldn't go any shorter than that, but 9 to 4 when I wrote the tips was Churchill for AP O'Brien. Yeah, obviously I've opposed him every term with Barney Roy, but he still acts as decent value just because I like to give a horse a chance, and he's had one bad run, but could easily bounce back for that. He got beaten by Thunder Snow and Lancaster Bomber in the St James's Palace, and he absolutely destroyed them in the Irish 2000 Guineas, indicating that obviously he did not run his race. Like, he could easily just have maybe regressed for some reason, and he might not just be as good as he was for whatever reason. No injury has come out of that race, but I mean, occasionally horses just run flat. Yeah. He wasn't given the best of rides either, I would say, but yeah, obviously he's beaten fair and square on the day. But I'm willing to give him one bad run. Of course, if he bombs out again in this, then I'm never going to be trusting him again. But if he bounced back to his 2000 Guineas form, or his especially his Irish 2000 Guineas form, he has an absolutely huge chance with the weight he's going to be receiving from Ribchester, because he's a 3-year-old. He got the run of the race in the 2000 Guineas, but he still won. A lot of things went wrong for Barney Roy that day. And in the Irish 2000 Guineas, he absolutely destroyed Thunder Snow, and he absolutely destroyed other horses, great horses as well. Spirit of Valour probably was a little bit going a little bit too far, but he's won a Group 2 since. So the form of that Irish 2000 Guineas is actually pretty good. Obviously obviously Thunder Snow won that Group 1 in France since then. So he's much better than he was last time. It's impossible to say what the ground conditions will be like, but a small bit of rain will be perfect. I've read somewhere that there's going to be the most rain ever this month, possibly flooding everywhere. So there could be a bit of rain. That'll be perfect for him. If you just ignore that Royal Ascot run, very, very hard to do. He could just be flat, and he could just be not as good. But I mean, with the weight allowance, and if he gets back to his Irish 2000 Guineas or Newmarket English 2000 Guineas form, I think he's a decent bet against Ribchester, who, of course, has also got his quirks. He showed us he still has a quirk or two in that Queen Anne. So at 15 to 8, tipped at 9 to 4, but for this 15 to 8. I think he's still just about value there. So I'll be going with him for that one.
That's something that I find interesting, Joe, because you literally hold an ultimatum over Churchill.
Yeah.
It's time to do or die.
Yeah. Well, he's won both 2000 Guineas, so he's going to be worth a bit of money already. But I think if he wins this, his value will go up quite a lot in the breeding sphere. So it's worth them running in it, and it will show that he hasn't just lost it completely like a couple do. Okay, moving on to day 3 of Glorious Goodwood and the Nassau Stakes, a Group 1 race for fillies and mares. Ballydor have won the race for the last 2 years, but can they do it again with the brilliant Winter? Let's go through some of the top of the market first. Neswa, I've seen a lot of people fancying these. I actually tipped her for the Pretty Polly Stakes at 12 to 1, and she couldn't have done it easier. She travelled like an absolute demon in that race. And Roger Varian is having a ridiculous season. I mean, unbelievable season. So she has a chance. She could be anything. She could be really good, but that was a bad race. That was a bad Group 1, the Pre-Poly. So I'll be looking elsewhere. Queen's Trust didn't get the best of runs in the Prince of Wales. Pretty unlucky. And the Prince of Wales, I thought it was going to be one of the worst races of the meeting, but it's turned out actually pretty good with Ulysses winning the Eclipse at Sandown. I think the stout filly basically needs a road. Obviously, she won at the Breeders' Cup meeting, which was very fast ground. I think she needs really fast ground to show her absolute best, but she has a chance as well. Then we've got the Gosden pair, Shutter Speed and Somi Dar. Haven't seen Somi Dar for quite a while. I've tipped her every time she's supposed to have run, and then she's been pulled out in the last second. So I'm not going to say anything about Somi Dar until she actually gets declared. Shutter Speed looked really, really promising at the start of the season, was very disappointing in France last time, so I'm not sure I fancy her that much unless she shows something else here. Obviously, I've just gone with Churchill after a poor one, so you're going to have to think of her as well. But even at her best, I don't think she's going to be good enough to beat Winter. That's going to be my tip. So currently, best price is 7 to 4. I'm going to go double stakes with her. I actually, on Twitter, mentioned a couple of months ago, no, it was about a month ago, and Winter was 7 to 1 for this, and I just thought, that is mental. That is mental. There are a couple of other AP O'Brien horses in front of her. They obviously thought that she was going to stick to a mile and not go up and trip, but the last 2 years, the operation have put in they've had the last 2 winners, and their best filly over this type of trip has always gone to this race. Legatissimo, obviously trained by David Watchman, and not AP O'Brien, but same ownership. 1,000 guineas, and then went on to win this. Minding, trained by AP O'Brien, obviously owned by Bally Doyle, won the 1,000 guineas that year. and then went on to win this. Different kind of in-between races, but in the end they always won in this one. It's just clearly, it seems like a race that they like to win with their best 3-year-old, and Winter is their best 3-year-old filly. I think in terms of Winter's form, she could probably beat these sort of level weight, so the fact that she's receiving £8 from the older fillies, it's just kind of even more incentive to just kind of back this one off the boards. She was never she won gone from strength to strength this season. Obviously, she won the 1,000 guineas basically quite easily. People thought that Rhododendron was unlucky that day, but she definitely wouldn't have got to Winter. And then she destroyed them in the Irish 1,000 guineas. One of the best performances I've seen this season from a 3-year-old. She was never in trouble for a second at Royal Ascot, and she's really bulletproof in the 3-year-old division for fillies. That's for sure, especially over that trip. She's straightforwardly beaten Roly-Poly twice. Roly-Poly's gone on to win Group 1 Falmouth. That was a terrible Group 1, but she still won easily as well at Newmarket, just boosting her form even more. Obviously, the concern for a couple of people is a step up in trip, and there is speed in her breeding, but she's by Galileo. For some reason, AP O'Brien, you get these Galileo breeding types, and they just stay no matter what. There's a lot of speed in her breeding, but I feel like she should be able to stay. It's not that much further. And yeah, that she can win. Will they be able to have a third winner in a row? Yes, she probably can. 7-4, still decent value. Obviously 7-1 if any of you got on there. I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, but hopefully you do. Yeah, cool. That is an absolute beastie
Quick question
price.
on Winter, Jake.
Yeah.
You're saying about the possibility of a monsoon heading to the festival. How will that horse handle the soft?
Should be able to handle it fine. She's done it before. I think it won't be a problem to be honest. She can win on any ground. It won't be. It's very unlikely to be heavy. I mean, if anything, it'll be maybe good to soft or something, which will be absolutely fine.
Perfect.
Day 4 is the King George. Yeah, obviously sprint race, five furlongs. I won this last year with Take Cover, massive price, 20-1. But can he do it again? He's much shorter this time round, even though he's a 10-year-old. Batash is actually the 3-1 favourite, who could be seriously good. Won at Sandown last twice, very impressive both times. Came from the back in the first time, then won the second time from the front. I think broke the course record maybe on the first time as well. He just looks really good, massively improved. But a 5 furlongs at Sandown is completely different to 5 furlongs at Goodwood. Goodwood form is really important, especially over these sprint trips. It seems to kind of translate really, really well. Profitable comes next in the market after a superb return to form in the King's Stand at Royal Ascot, behind runaway winner Lady Aurelia, who was one of the most impressive winners of the entire meeting. I thought that the fast ground was going to... I basically put a line for profitable because I thought the fast ground was going to hinder him that day, but he showed that he's basically as effective on fast ground because that was a fantastic run in second. So I was completely wrong. But he's never run at Goodwood either. He could, obviously he's come back, that was a return to form as well, so he could just improve again and be pretty good. He's not that bad a price either, but the one I like is Take Cover, of course, my boy Take Cover, for David Griffiths, who does so well with these older sprinters. He's gone from strength to strength over the last 2 seasons, from 9 to 10, which is unbelievable really. He has a ridiculously good record at Goodwood as well. In 2013, he was placed second in the Stewards Sprint Stakes. That was over 6 furlongs. And he tied right at the end. We obviously know that 6 furlongs is a little bit too far for him now. He's got serious speed, so I think 5 furlongs was always going to be his trip. He then came back to this meeting, and he won this race ahead of Extortionist, who actually placed third in the Numthorpe next time. That was in 2014. Next season he tended to defend his crown, but he went down by a head to Muthmere. That's when Muthmere was absolutely flying. He was on top of his game, looked one of the best sprinters ever at that point. And then on his last run here, he ran here again last season, reversed the form of Muthmere, who's just gone downhill since then pretty much. So ridiculous speed from start to finish. And he just managed to hold on at the end. That's all he does. He shows crazy speed and then holds on at the finish. If there was a 4 furlong races in England, he would clean up. He would do so well in 4 furlong races because he has got ridiculous speed over the first 4 furlongs. He's 10 now, but he's already put in some fantastic performances this season. He started off 2017 with a really decent 7th in the Temple at Haydock, where David Allen really took it easy with him. when he saw the race was gone. He clearly needed the run at 10, which is kind of understandable. He put a massive effort in the King Stand. I backed him each way at 66 to 1. He ended up placing 5th, and I think some firms were doing 5 places, so a couple of people got decent each way money there. He was pretty much, he was in the lead inside the half furlong, so for 4.5 furlongs he was winning, and then he tired right at the finish, which he did last year as well at Ascot, to be fair. Actually, he ran by him. I remember last year, I think he ran by himself for miles and still was there right at the finish. But he did the same thing. He usually does that many tracks, but it seems like at Goodwood, he can just hold on right at the finish. And yeah, my only concern would be, as we've mentioned quite a lot, rain would be a huge issue. He needs rattling fast, good or faster or nothing. I wouldn't even back him if it was good to soft. It has to be good or faster, but at 9 to 1 at the moment, he's definitely worth an each way bet because, I mean, July, Goodwood, you'd hope it would be fast ground, even though there is this kind of feeling that there could be a bit of soft ground around as well.
August.
Oh, it's August, yeah, start of August, but basically, you know, yeah, start of August, but yeah, end of July, start of August. It isn't the end of July, it's the start of August. It is August, but hopefully it'll be fast ground and that'll be perfect for him at 9 to 1. Okay, right, I forgot my notes from the last day. Right, on to the last day, day 5, and the Stewards Cup. There's still about 100,000 entries for this, so I haven't got a concrete tip for it, but I'll just give up a couple of horses that I saw in the order that caught my eye and could run big races if they get in. One of them is Goodwood Crusader. He ran a 5-timer this season. I thought he was pretty unlucky at Newmarket behind Ecticar. 7th of 24, couldn't find no luck in running that day. Tried to get out. Just blocked his run at a very crucial time at about 2 furlong pole. I think he could be pretty good actually. He's just improving all the time. Seems decent type, so he's interesting. I'm not sure 100% that he'll get in, but he's an interesting one. Goodwood Crusader. I think he's about 33 to 1. Another one that is massive price for Kevin Ryan. Tommy Taylor, 50 to 1. He's a 3-year-old. He was also running that race behind Estigar. He came second, the next second. He's massively unexposed. He's only run twice this season. That was his 2nd run this season. Obviously, the Kevin Ryan yard had that really bad virus at the start of the season. And yeah, he's unexposed. 3-year-olds have won this for the last couple of seasons. Magical Memory and then Dancing Star. Yeah, I think he has a decent chance at 50 to 1. And I don't think he'll go off that price. Obviously, he's going to receive weight from the field as well at 3. And with that run last time, it's a massive improvement. And he could improve for the fast ground on his breeding as well, if it's fast ground. Because the ground was described as good at Newmarket, but I think it was actually, there was a bit of juice in there, that's for sure, because the winner would not have done that well if there wasn't some juice in the ground. So fast ground will be good for him. There's one that I quite liked that isn't going to get in now, but Toothy would have been a good bet, 66 to 1. Really good mark now. But he's not going to get in, so there's no point in him talking about it. But yeah, that's that. And I haven't properly looked into the race yet, but those are 2 that kind of jumped off the page, especially Tommy Taylor at 50 to 1.
If you really truly are after your Stewards Cup tips, make sure that you download the Glorious Goodwood app, which is available in the iStore. Now, in a few days' time, Jake will tackle it full on with a full betting preview, so make sure that you download the app. So that's our selections for Goodwood. 5 feature races throughout the 5 days. Don't forget that we have the great offer from Bookie, which if you go back to the start of the video, there'll be the full terms and conditions. We'll have the link underneath this video. And don't forget that if you are a new customer to Bookie, they also have their great offer of bet £20, get £20 free. So you can get hold of basically 6 free bets throughout the whole festival, which sounds good to me. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Comment on a video, let us know how you're feeling about Glorious Goodwoods, offer us your selections as well as talking about Jake's, and last and not least, please download the Goodwood app because it's going to have the best odds, the best tips, the best free bets and offers all in one handy app, so it's the best way to bet on Goodwood. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Ross Casey, this is Jake Johns.
Goodbye.